In May 2025, a noticeable shift emerged in the processing pattern of skilled migration visas, particularly for the subclass 491 visa. One of the most striking developments was the significant spike in refusal rates. The 491 visa saw an 11% refusal rate compared to the number of grants in that month, a sharp increase from the typical 1% to 5% refusal rate seen over the past 10 months. This sudden rise appears to be closely tied to how the Department of Home Affairs, DHA, managed the end-of-year application backlog as the 2024-25 financial year approached its close in June. What seems to have happened is that DHA began actively reviewing a large volume of pending applications, likely in preparation for the upcoming 2025-26 program year. In many cases, eligible applicants were sent S-56 requests or commencement emails, signaling that their files were under review and may be finalized in the new financial year. However, since planning levels for the 2024-25 year were already exhausted, these eligible cases could not be granted immediately, even if they met all criteria. At the same time, applicants who did not meet eligibility requirements were issued refusals, particularly those who had overclaimed points, for instance by inflating their work experience or English proficiency, or failed to provide accurate evidence of regional nomination, partner points, or employment history. Since refusals do not count against the planning quota, DHA appears to have prioritized finalizing these cases in May. This strategy enabled the department to clear ineligible applications without affecting the number of grants available under the tightly controlled planning levels. This interpretation is further supported by broader visa trends in May 2025. For example, the subclass 189 visa also saw a 13% refusal rate, well above its usual 1-3% average. It suggests a consistent departmental approach toward cleaning up the pipeline before the financial year rollover. In contrast, the 190 visa subclass experienced only a 2% refusal rate, in line with historical trends. The difference here is significant. While the 491 and 189 visas had clearly exhausted their planning levels, the 190 visa still had 62 places left after the May grants were finalized. This allowed DHA to continue granting eligible 190 applications without needing to issue high volumes of refusals. In May 2025, 799 491 visas were granted, while 88 were refused. Similarly, only 239 189 visas were granted compared to 31 refusals. Meanwhile, the 190 subclass stood out with 1,760 grants and only 34 refusals. These figures clearly demonstrate how the availability, or lack, of remaining quota influenced grant activity and refusal outcomes in the final month of the program year. Some viewers might ask, if the skilled regional category had a planning ceiling of 33,000 places, why weren't more 491 grants issued? It's important to clarify that the skilled regional category includes not just the 491 visa, but also other subclasses like 887 and 494, which also draw from the same pool of allocations. This means that many of those 33,000 places may have already been allocated across different visa types, leaving limited space for further 491 grants by the time May arrived. Now let's take a look at how the 491 visa grants in May 2025 were distributed across various months of lodgement. A detailed breakdown shows that grants were not strictly chronological. December 2023 led the pack with 114 grants, followed closely by July and June 2023, with 106 and 104 grants, respectively. Other high-performing months included October 2023 with 91 grants, January 2024 with 75, and even older lodgements like May 2023, which saw 53 grants. Interestingly, some recent applications also received grants, 50 from February 2025, 48 from January twice, and 19 from December 24. These numbers suggest that while DHA is largely focused on clearing older applications, they also processed a select few newer ones, possibly due to lower complexity or priority of occupations. Overall, the presence of grants from both older and newer lodgement periods implies that the department is taking a targeted approach, choosing applications that are ready for immediate decision rather than simply following a strict order. However, the total number of grants in May was still low at just 799, reinforcing the view that most of the available planning spots had already been filled earlier in the program year. Speaking of trends over the year, let's examine the broader picture of 491 visa processing across the 2024-25 financial year. Starting from July 2024, we saw very strong activity with over 4,100 grants in the first month alone. August and September also had healthy numbers, 3,237 and 3,175 respectively. But beginning in October, the monthly grant count began to decline steadily, dropping to 1,609, then slightly recovering to 2,078 in November, and falling again to just 1,174 in December. The first few months of 2025 showed slight improvement, especially February and March, with nearly 1,700 and 1,990 grants, but this momentum didn't last. By May, grants dropped sharply to just 799, the lowest monthly figure of the entire year. Meanwhile, refusals in May reached a yearly high of 88, even as only 1,985 new applications were lodged, compared to more than 2,300 in each of the previous 2 months. This means the number of on-hand applications, though still waiting for a decision, increased again in May, reaching 26,361. This is concerning because it indicates that even as grants are being issued, the system continues to accumulate more pending files than it can process. So, where exactly is this backlog building up? A look at application status by lodgement month gives us the answer. Applications lodged between January and May 2023 have mostly been processed, with more than 97% completion rates across those months. However, from June 2023 onward, processing efficiency begins to drop dramatically. For instance, June 2023 has 79% processed, July and August are both at just 40%, and October 2023 sits at only 39%. As we move further into late 2023 and early 2024, the picture worsens. January 2024 has only 31% processed, February just 18%, and May 2024 is sitting at 25%. The most recent months, from January to May 2025, show almost no movement, with some like April and May having 0 applications finalized yet. What does this tell us? While the department has been able to clear early lodgements efficiently, a large mid to late 2023 and early 2024 backlog is now developing. Despite efforts to fast-track grants earlier in the financial year, this newer wave of applications is building up pressure, especially given the limited grants issued in the last few months. For applicants still waiting, especially those who lodged from mid-2023 onwards, this means extended wait times may be likely unless planning levels are significantly increased in the new financial year. And for those who recently received S56 or commencement notices but haven't yet been granted, it's a sign that your application is likely eligible but will be finalized only once 2025-26 allocations open. In summary, May 2025 exposed the full impact of exhausted planning levels on the 491 visa program. We saw a record number of refusals, low grant volumes, and growing backlogs, all pointing to the critical need for more balanced planning and efficient processing in the year ahead. For those applying or waiting, understanding these trends will be essential for navigating the next phase of the skilled migration program.